divine souls. Yesterday I started talking to you about the practical form of bhakti. Along the way I've explained many of the characteristics or conditions of true bhakti, like that we shouldn't ask God for anything. When we pray to Him, it should be to surrender ourselves to Him, not to make any demands. That was the first condition. We shouldn't ask for bhukti or mukti. The second condition is that bhakti is independent, so it doesn't need to be and shouldn't be covered or affiliated with any other practice. The third condition is that we have to establish a relationship with Shri Krishna so that we don't just think of Him as God, but we develop love for Him in our heart, either by adopting Madhurya Bhav, Vatsalya Bhav, Sakhya Bhav, or Dasya Bhav. The fourth condition was that our love for Him should be ananya. In other words, we should be exclusive in our devotion to God. We should not mix in devotion to celestial gods and goddesses and so forth. Our devotion should be exclusive to Supreme God. The next condition that we looked at was that devotion should be continuous. This is what I explained yesterday. Continuous devotion means that devotion is not only to be practiced for a few minutes or even a couple of hours once in a day or twice in a day. Our mind should be attached to Shri Krishna all the time, 24 hours a day. So yesterday I told you that this only becomes possible to the extent that we develop this understanding in our mind that we are divine souls. So we're eternally related to Shri Krishna. The more deeply we understand this, the more we'll become attached to Him, and the more natural that attachment remains. The involvement of the mind is required for all of our worldly work, but the attachment of the mind is not required. Just like you currently work at whatever job or duties you have in the society or family, and while you perform that work, your mind is involved in it, but it's not necessarily attached. You attach your mind just to a few people in this whole wide world. You just attach your mind to a few people. But you do all kinds of work with the involvement of the mind minus the attachment. You reserve the attachment of your mind just for a few people. So if that attachment of our mind is reserved for God only, and we do all of our work in the world, that is called karma yoga. And that is only possible to the extent we have attached our mind to God through loving remembrance. So it's up to us as much as possible throughout the day to remember Shri Krishna and keep Him in our mind and develop love for Him. This is karma yoga ki sadhana, the effort we make to remember God throughout the day. I told you at the end of yesterday that in order to develop this attachment to Shri Krishna, it is also advisable to practice some karma sannyas ki sadhana. Karma yoga ki sadhana means throughout the day, while you're doing your work, try to remember God. Karma sannyas ki sadhana means give up everything and only remember God. You don't have to don orange robes or shave your head or grow a beard in order to do this karma sannyas. You can do it right in your own house once or twice a day. So the two complement each other. The karma yoga fills up the rest of your day, and the karma sannyas is once or twice a day where you intensively think of God, ceasing all other worldly activities. This part is important because it builds the strength of our remembrance in God. Think of our feelings for God, like in the beginning, like a flame. If you just have a single flame burning, that flame could be blown out by the slightest breeze or some rain, some wind. it has to be protected. And then you add some fuel to it and it grows bigger and bigger and it becomes a huge fire, and then nothing can put it out. We want our attachment to God to become that strong that no matter where we are or what we're doing in the world, we're always remembering Him. But we're not at that point yet. How to get to that point? We have to do some sadhana where we sit in a quiet place and only remember God. This is where we have to learn to meditate. Karma sannyas ki sadhana means you sequester yourself from the world. Leave all the distractions and activities behind. You sit somewhere where you won't be bothered and you meditate on God. This meditation is very important. I've explained to you many times throughout this speech, this series of speeches, that bhakti is of two kinds: external bhakti and internal bhakti. The external devotion is there as a helping factor to help us do what? Think of God or remember God, which is the internal devotion. The internal devotion is the most important. In fact, if you take that part out and do all the outer devotion, you don't really have anything. It's like you have a shell with nothing on the inside. Or you could say, like if you have a body and the soul has left it, then the body has no life. So if we have forgotten devotion to God on the inside, we're not thinking of Him, but we're doing external devotion, then we only have the external part with no soul to our devotion. The whole point of doing devotion is to purify our mind by attaching our mind to God. Just like you can't wash your insides with soap, you can't wash your mind with soap, right? You have to wash your mind by attaching it to God. So this is done through meditation. So learning to attach our mind to God through meditation is extremely important, because without that, we will never purify our mind and we will never attain our ultimate goal. This is why Veda Vyasji says, Alodya sarvashastrani vicharya cha punah punah idamekam sunishpannam dhyeyo narayano hari. He says, I did manthan, I churned all of our scriptures, all of our holy scriptures. Why? To see what would rise to the top. You know, when you churn something, the best thing rises to the top. When you churn milk, cream rises to the top, the best part. So I churned all of our scriptures. Punah punah. It says vicharya cha punah punah. Means he went through it, read through it, thought about it. And he came to one conclusion. There was one essence that came out of all of that. What is that? Dhyeyaha Narayano Harihi. Dhyeyaha means meditation. The essence of all the scriptural teachings is to meditate on God. It's the internal bhakti. The Brahma Sutra also says dhyana cha. You have to do dhyan. You have to meditate on God. Tad japas tadartha bhavanam. Yoga Darshan says, the one whose name you're repeating, you have to think of him while you're doing that. You have to meditate on him. So how do we meditate on God? We call it Roop Dhyan. Although our Vedas say, Dve Vava Brahmano Rupe Murtanchaiva Murtancha, that God has two aspects, Sakar, Nirakar, Murt and Amurt, with form and without form. Two aspects of God. However, meditating on formless God is extremely difficult. Shri Krishna says in the Gita, hey Arjun, because Arjun asked him, what's better, meditating on you in your personal form or meditating on your avyakt aspect, your unmanifest self? So Shri Krishna said, it's much, much easier to meditate on me in my personal form. So Arjun, you meditate on me in my personal form and you will progress much more quickly than if you try to meditate on my impersonal aspect. Avyaktam higatir dukham dehavad bhiravapyate. He says, for those who inhabit a body and everything they know about has a form, it's very difficult for them to meditate on me without a form. So, you should all meditate on me with a form. Thus, the form of meditation that we're going to talk about tonight is Roop Dhyan. Roop means the form and Dhyan means meditating. You might be thinking, but aren't there so many other ways to meditate besides doing Roop Dhyan, besides meditating on the form of God? For instance, many people meditate simply by closing their eyes and trying to think of nothing. Let's leave aside the fact that this is impossible. Like if I were to say to you, don't think of a monkey, you're all thinking of a monkey right now. So if I say to you, think of nothing, you'll be, in your effort to try to think of nothing, you'll be thinking of everything. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatutishtatya karmakrit. Gita, same shlok comes in Bhagavat. Shri Krishna says there's no way. Nobody's mind stops even for a fraction of a second. But let's say someone could think of nothing. Will thinking of nothing purify your mind? Absolutely not. You've neutralized the activity of the mind if you're thinking of nothing. But the whole point is you have this Mayic mind which is full of all kinds of impurities from uncountable past lifetimes. And we need to clean that out. How? By bringing God into it. So you have to meditate on God. He's divine. He's the great purifier. Bring Him into your mind and your mind gets purified. Meditate on nothing, and nothing happens. Your mind does not purify. So meditating on nothing is not a path to God. You see, there are many forms of meditation, and there are many practices, spiritual paths, but there's only one way to reach God. Not all paths lead to God. They all lead somewhere. They all have their own specific goal. Let's say someone meditates on their breath. They close their eyes and they just breathe deeply in a relaxed way, and they're focusing their mind on the breath coming in and going out, coming in and going out. And they find when they do that, they don't think of anything else. They're only thinking of their breathing. So they've focused the mind on the breathing. So now they're getting a break from all the other activity of the mind. Like there was once a man. He got some demon that he got control of, like a spirit or a ghost. He got control of, but with one condition. The spirit said, I'm going to serve you and I have great power so I can do anything for you, but there's one condition. You have to keep me busy. If I run out of things to do, I'm going to kill you. So the man said, oh, this sounds great. Okay, build me a palace. Within a few minutes, the palace was done. He comes back. Tell me something else to do. He said, he had to think really quickly. Okay, plant my fields for me. A few minutes later, he came back. It was done. Tell me, or I'm going to kill you. What should I do? So he had to think really fast again. Okay, fill all my pails and bring them from the well. Wash all my dishes. Repaint the house. He keeps thinking of things to do. But now he's getting scared that if I run out of things, what's going to happen to me? So he went to a saint and he asked this saint, he told him his problem and he said, tell me, what can I do? So the saint took a hair out of his head. The saint had curly hair. And he gave him that hair and he said, tell him to straighten that. Whenever if you need him to do something, then you give him that task to do. You take the hair away from him. But when there's nothing for him to do, give him the hair and say straighten it. He'll go like this, pull it out, it will curl again. He'll keep doing that for hours on end until you need him. So it's something like that. If we just tell our mind, okay, watch the breathing. So you've given your mind that hair to straighten. So now the mind is occupied and you get some relaxation from the normal stressful activity of the mind. So what you've gotten is a temporary relief from all of that stress of the mind. But have you purified your mind? No. Meditating on the breath does nothing to purify the mind. Someone may meditate on inner light. Inner light is such a thing. You can say psychic light. The same light that lights your dreams. Because when your eyes are closed at night, you see the objects in the dream world, right? How are you seeing that? With the psychic light, subtle light, you can say, that you see with your subtle eyes. So some people learn to meditate and see that subtle light in their meditation. And they feel some euphoric feeling seeing that. But what they've done is reached a little bit higher level of Mayic awareness. That's all. So this is still a purely Mayic meditation. Their mind has not gone to God. It's not a divine light. You can't see divine light until you're God realized. So there are many such meditations. They're all Mayic meditations that can give some temporary peace of mind or some temporary euphoric feeling, but they don't purify the mind. And they don't result in receiving God's grace, because to receive God's grace, you have to meditate on the personal form of God with a desire to receive His grace. So none of these other forms of meditation can result in God realization. They're not a part of the path to God. This is why we have to do Rup Dhyan. We have to meditate on the personal form of God. So here someone may say, okay, I'm ready to do it, but you please show me God one time so I know what to meditate on. I'm ready to meditate. I want to meditate on Shri Krishna. Now Guruji, just show me Shri Krishna one time. A true God realized saint could. He could say, Shri Krishna, please come, appear before this soul. So that sounds pretty good, right? All right, good. Let's do that. I want to see Him. Once I see Him one time, I'll be able to meditate, no problem. But all of this thinking is wrong. It would not help us even one little bit if Shri Krishna came to us. Otherwise, He would come to us. There's no problem from His side. He could come to us, appear in this room right now before all of us. But why doesn't He? Because we would not benefit from it. You might be surprised to know that we have all seen Shri Krishna and all of His other avatars uncountable times in the past. He has taken avatar on this earth millions of times. We have had uncountable past lives. In those uncountable past lives, we would have been there in the right place at the right time to see some avatar of Shri Krishna. Definitely. It could have even happened 5,000 years ago when He was there in India. We could have been born in India. We could have been around that place. We could have seen Him. He was there for 125 years between Braj, Mathura, Dwarika. Then what's the problem? Well, the problem was we saw Him and we didn't see Him at the same time. God has two forms that He can be seen in. one form right now is visible only to saints with divine eyes. God is present everywhere right now. He's omnipresent in his personal form. So if there's a saint with divine eyes, they can see Shri Krishna is here, 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 here. He's everywhere. We cannot see that form of Shri Krishna because we don't have divine eyes. But when he takes avatar, he makes his divine body visible even to material eyes, so we could see him. But even when we see him, we wouldn't recognize him. This is the problem. Mallanam ashanir nrinam naravara strinam smaro murtiman Gopanam swajano satang kshiti bhujam Shasta swapitro shishu Mrityur bhojapater virad vidusham Tattvam param yoginam Vrishninam swajano Vrishninam paradevateti vidito Rangangatah sagrajah. Bhagavatam. Shri Krishna has entered the arena in Mathura. This scene is being described. There's a huge coliseum where Kans has organized this event because he wanted to call Shri Krishna to come so he would get a chance to try to kill Shri Krishna, because Kans was afraid of dying by Shri Krishna's hand. So as Shri Krishna entered the Colosseum, all kinds of people saw him. There were some people with a loving heart who saw him and they felt, oh, he is so beautiful. He's uncountable times more beautiful than Kamdev, the god of beauty. Some people saw him and they just thought, oh, he's just a handsome, intelligent boy. They felt like slightly above average. The wrestlers who were there, the big, huge wrestlers like Chanur, they saw him and they didn't see a little boy. Shri Krishna was only 11 and a half at this time. They didn't see a little boy. They saw a steel-bodied wrestler. These wrestlers, they could bend steel, but when they fought against Shri Krishna and Balaram, they couldn't even bend one finger on their hand. So they saw, and they were frightened by what they saw. Then there were also some Rakshas. They saw Shri Krishna in a very fearsome form. They saw multiple heads, multiple arms, multiple feet. There were some impious rulers, some impious kings who were there. And when they saw Shri Krishna, they saw a stern ruler who may punish them for their bad actions. And they were also slightly afraid of him. His father, Nanda Baba, was there. He saw his loving son. Many of the Gwalbals had come along. They saw their playmate, their buddy, their friend. There were some yogis there. They didn't even see Shri Krishna in a form. They just saw an intense divine light. Kans saw Shri Krishna and he saw Yamraj himself has come. The god of death has come before me. And then there were some saints, Bhakta saints, who had attained their God realized, they have attained the personal form of God. They saw Shri Krishna in his actual divine form. So this is why Tulsidas ji writes, Jaki rahi bhavana jaisi Prabhu murati dekhi tin taisi. We all see God according to the state of our antahakaran. Less purified, more purified, divine. Divine saints have a divine antahakaran, so they can actually perceive the divine form of Bhagwan. If our antahkaran is material, we'll see God's divine form and we'll take it to be material. We'll be mistaken, but we'll actually think, oh, he's just like me. We'll think he's asamarth, just like me. He's not all-powerful. He's limited, like I am. He's an ordinary person because he looks just like me, he walks just like me, he talks just like me. God is supposed to have unlimited power. I see him in this world. I don't see him upholding the whole world. I see the whole world around him. I don't see him omnipresent in every particle of the world. I see him get hungry and he eats. He gets sleepy and he sleeps. He looks like he's just like me. God is supposed to have unlimited beauty, but I'm looking at him. He looks normal. At most, I would call him handsome. But unlimited divine beauty? No. Just normal, slightly above normal. Depending on the state of our heart, if our heart is more impious, we would think, no, there's no appeal whatsoever. I don't like him. But no matter what, whether we're less pure, more pure, if we don't have a divine mind and senses, we would not recognize his divinity, and then our faith would be harmed. Because we would say, I heard so much about God up until now. Saints said so much about God's beauty, God's divine form. Scriptures described so much, and now I've seen with my own eyes. What's the big deal? Doesn't seem so great to me. Why should I bother doing devotion to attain God? I already met him. Didn't do anything special for me. Chidanandamaya deha tumhari bigat bikar jan adhikari. You have to be qualified in order to see that divine form. We were unqualified, so even when we met him, we failed to recognize him. So it didn't help us at all. All of the times we've met God, even if some saint told us, this is God, wouldn't have helped us. So even if right now you had some divine saint as your Guruji who could show you Shri Krishna, if that's your plan that, oh, show me Shri Krishna and then I'll start doing devotion to him, your plan is backwards. That's like saying, give me my diploma first, then I'll enroll in your university. I want the fruit first. After I get the fruit, then I'll plant the mango tree. You have to do the work first, then you reap the rewards. So we have to do Rup Dhyan. We have to meditate on God's form. Then we will be rewarded with his divine vision. So the next question is, God's form is divine, is it not? Yes, it is. And our mind is material. Yes, I just explained. That's why even if we see God face to face, we can't recognize him. So with our material mind, how are we going to meditate on his divine form? Indriyebhyah parahyartha arthebhyascha param manah manasastu para buddhir buddheratma mahan parah mahatah paramavyaktam avyaktat purushah parah purushan naparam kinchit sa kashtha sa paragati. Kathopanishad says, you have your senses, beyond that is your man, your emotional mind, beyond that is your buddhi, your intellect, beyond that is your atma, beyond that is maya, and beyond that is God. So your senses cannot even perceive your mind. You can't see your mind with your eyes, let alone your soul or God. This is why Taittiriya Upanishad says, Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa sah. Your mind cannot reach God. He's beyond our mayic man, buddhi, indriya. Go gochar jahan lagi man jai, so sab maya jane hu bhai. Wherever our mind can go, it will be restricted to this mayic field, and God is beyond maya. Ram swarup tumhar vachan agochar buddhi par avigat akath apar neti neti nita nigamavad. The form of God is beyond our limited material mind. So how are we going to meditate on him? Whatever form we're going to imagine in our mind, it's going to be our material imagination, is it not? The answer to that is not clear-cut, meaning it is neither yes nor is it no. Is the form that we imagine in our mind, if you imagine the form of Shri Krishna, is that your material imagination or is it divine? It's both. It's not just your material imagination. Why is that so? Because God is omnipresent. He's everywhere. He's even in our mind. So let's say you close your eyes and you imagine the form of Shri Krishna and you imbue that with some feelings that this is real Shri Krishna I'm imagining who is right here before me. What you've done actually is join your mind with the fact that he is right there before you. That's a fact, he is. Up until now we haven't thought of that fact, so our mind has been separated from him. So we joined our mind with him by remembering this fact that he is right here. And he also knows our intention. Our intention is to think of him. He knows that we cannot think of his actual divine form as it will look when we meet him face to face after God realization. No one can think of that actual form until he gets a divine mind. He knows that. So he makes it easy for us. He says, if you have the intention of thinking of me, I accept your meditation. He's not judging on, okay, did you get my nose right? Did you get my ears just right? He doesn't care about any of that. He's not giving you marks for artistic skillfulness. He's only looking at your heart. Is your intention to remember me? Do you have faith that I am right here with you? Then I'm rewarding you. The reward is received as grace, which you receive in your heart, which purifies your heart and mind. And not just purifies it, but gives you an actual experience of God's presence here with you. You experience that. That's called bhav. It gives you a feeling of security, joy, happiness. So Shri Krishna's grace is received by making the effort to meditate on his form, even though his form is beyond the reach of our material mind. Through his grace, he bridges that gap. As long as we try to think of him, it works. It's the same way that Murti Puja works. You can worship a Murti and become God realized as long as you have the faith that God is in that Murti. Of course, you know he's not only in the Murti, he's everywhere, but he's also in the Murti, is he not? He is omnipresent, so it means he's also in the Murti. So if you worship the Murti as God, you're correct. He is in the Murti, but you have to have 100% faith. You can understand this whole situation if you understand these four things. Someone can worship God if he's here on the earth, taking avatar. If you don't know he's God, but you love him, you attach your mind to him, you'll attain him. If God is taking avatar, he's physically here, and you know he's God, you attach your mind to him, you will attain him. If he's not taking avatar, and you're worshipping a murti, or you're worshipping the form of him that you create in your own mind, but you imbue that with Bhagavad Bhavana, with faith that God is in that murti, or God is in this form I'm imagining, you will attain him. The only time you won't attain him is if you take this material thing, this is a stone, it's a material thing, and you don't add Bhagavad Bhavana. So you attach your material mind to a material thing with no thought of God, no attachment of the mind to God, then you will only attain Maya. But in the other three cases, you will attain God. You see, when Shri Krishna was here on the earth, there were some devotees of his who didn't actually know he was God, but they loved him. They attached their mind to him, so they attained him. Because you get the result of whatever you attach your mind to. Just like in the world, let's say there's a fire burning, and by accident, you trip and fall into the fire. The fire is going to give you its effect, right? It's going to make you its own. You will become part of the fire. You'll also catch fire. Just like that, if your mind attaches to God, even if you don't know he's God when he's here on the earth, you'll attain him. If you know he's God and you attach your mind, you'll still attain him. Like, let's say someone takes medicine. They know it's medicine. They take it, they'll get cured. Let's say someone has the same illness. You know this is the right medicine for them. You slip it into their food and they eat it without knowing it. They'll also get cured. They didn't know they were taking the medicine, but they took it. So even if you don't know that that's God, let's say during his avatar kal 5,000 years ago, some gopi didn't know. She just thought, oh, Shri Krishna is just a handsome boy. And she attached her mind to him. She attained God through that. And many knew who Shri Krishna was, so they attached their mind and they attained him. But of course, this is not his avatar kal now. He's not here, so we can't do that. However, we can attach our mind to him through a murti or through our own meditation. It works because he's omnipresent. You can't do it with a material thing. Let's say you have a ball of mud shaped like a rasgulla. So think of Meera or Prahlad. Both Meera and Prahlad were fed milk that had poison in it. But both of them drank that milk thinking of Shri Krishna, and they didn't get the effect of the poison because Shri Krishna is also omnipresent, so he's also in the milk. So if you have bilkul ekdam sahi bhavana, 100% faith that this is Shri Krishna and you drink it, then you won't get the effect of the poison. Don't try it if you're not at the level of Meera or Prahlad. So they drank that milk and got the effect of Shri Krishna because he's omnipresent. Now, let's say I have this ball of mud, ball of clay, that's the same shape as a rasgulla. Can I do Roop Dhyan thinking that this is rasgulla? And then I eat it, meditating on rasgulla. Am I going to get the taste of a rasgulla? No, because rasgulla is not omnipresent. God is omnipresent. You can meditate on that rasgulla as being Bhagwan. That works because he's also in the rasgulla. So it doesn't work with material things. Let's say even a live material thing, your son, your daughter, let's say they're away at school or they're in another country. So you can meditate on them, but will you get the effect of their being right here with you? No. You can think of them, you can remember them, but they're far away. Even if you were to call them, they can't come. They're too far away to hear you. If they're close enough to hear you, you can call them and they'll come. But they're not omnipresent. So you can't get the benefit of the association of somebody who's not here if they're not omnipresent. God is omnipresent. So all you have to do is think of him and he's here. This is meditation. You think of his form and he is there. Shaili darumai lauhi lepya lekhya cha saikati manomai manimai pratimashtavidha smrita. Bhagavatam says there's 8 kinds of murtis that you can make. Murti means the image of God. You can use metal, you can use stone, you can use clay, you can use sand, you can use wood, you can use jewels, you can have a picture or a painting, and manomai. You can form your own murti in your mind. And you can do puja of that murti without physically doing it. All it takes is your own faith. That's it. You imbue your faith in that form that you have imagined, and you get the benefit of worshipping God directly. This is internal bhakti. This is what we have to do. So we have to do this Rup Dhyan, where we form this image of Shri Krishna in our mind. No matter how good or bad we think the image is, it makes no difference. What matters is our effort. We try, and Shri Krishna graces us for our effort. The more we do it, the more we advance. And the meditation becomes more and more real because, as I told you, he is there. One time there was a wealthy Sethji, a wealthy merchant, and he also did bhakti. He was practicing Rup Dhyan. He really liked it because it didn't cost him anything. If you do murti puja of a stone murti and you want to offer some jewelry or some incense or some food or flowers, all these things you have to go out and buy, or it takes time to go and bring them, get clothing and everything. He really liked this because he could bring the most beautiful ornaments to decorate his Shri Krishna in his meditation, and it didn't cost him a penny. So this was great for Sethji. The more he practiced this meditation, the more intense his vision of Shri Krishna became. Now one day in his meditation, he was doing some seva. He wanted to make some kheer and offer it to Shri Krishna in his meditation. So he's cooking the kheer, and he had a container of saffron as well, because you have to add saffron to the kheer. So as he was adding, he wanted to add just a little bit of saffron to the kheer. The whole thing dumped in. So he became a little agitated because saffron is so expensive. So in his Rup Dhyan, he started picking out the saffron and putting it back in. All of a sudden, he feels Shri Krishna has grabbed his hand. He opens his eyes and Shri Krishna is standing there in front of him. Shri Krishna is saying, you know, what are you doing picking the saffron out of my kheer? Sethji is saying, well, I want to save a little bit of money. But the point is, you see, Shri Krishna came to him. That Sethji was meditating. He practiced for many years like this, meditating on Shri Krishna. And by doing that, his heart got purified. Eventually, when it became fully purified, that meditation became real. Real Shri Krishna came to him. There's another story of someone making kheer who wanted to test the temperature of it and make sure it wasn't too hot, and they burned their finger on it. And when he came out of his meditation, his hand was actually burnt from his meditation. So the Rup Dhyan can become real. It's how we bridge the gap between the material and the divine. With our material mind, we do this meditation on Shri Krishna, but due to his grace and the fact that he's omnipresent, he meets us halfway. So our meditation becomes real and live. But in the beginning, it takes effort, and even if we feel we're not able to do it, we are doing it, because we're doing the effort. Eventually our heart purifies and we get better and better at it, and our experiences become more and more vivid. There are some more details that we have to understand on practically how to do this meditation, what you should think of, what are some different varieties or ways that you can meditate on Shri Krishna. I will explain all of that tomorrow. बोलिए वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय।